Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Eric Benet, and you know I got soul.
You know I Got Soul here with Eric Benet once again. I want to talk about this new album you've got coming out, the self-titled album. We had a chance to check it out. Love the sound, love the direction you went with it. Really authentic Eric Benet, and we love that you went that way. So
Thank you.
talk about the creation of the album a little bit.
Yeah, the creation of the album was something that I wanted. I sat down with my partner DeMonte, who I've been making music with since my first solo album, True to Myself, and I really wanted this album to just be like pure, just R&B, without any attempt to be anything other than just completely authentic and creative, and to be my own little musical R&B statement. I didn't want it to feel like anything that's out right now, and I didn't really want it to feel like anything that I had done. However, one of the cool things about being in the industry so long is you tend to develop your own sound, and it's like people, they can pretty much tell, like sometimes even before the verse starts, they'll be like, oh, that's an Eric Benet song. I love that, and I love that people can like identify what I am my music right away. I just love the fact that this record definitely has its own personality, and but still has its feet firmly planted in, you know, what people have come to identify as like my sound.
And what I noticed was it kind of sounds like you picked up where you left off with the one. It's been a few years since the album came out, huge success for you. So is there anything that particularly inspired you when going into the creation of this album since it's been a few years? What made you know it was ready?
I like to, I just like to go into the studio and start working on the project when it's time. I don't like to do it too early. I don't like to do it too late. I like to, like this particular album right here, it's going to be a couple, it's going to be a couple years to let it breathe out there and to let it live. And, my thing about going into the studio with this record was just being completely free, like I said, to do what I do and expound on my sound. And the interesting, it wasn't really a challenge, but like scheduling wise with this record, my wife and I, we're parents to a 4-year-old and a beautiful 2-year-old and a beautiful 4-year-old, and it's really important. It was really important for me to make sure that I'm always there for like bath time and breakfast time and on the weekends. So on this album, I really gave myself like 5 hours a day, like throughout the week, to work on the record. So I would, leave the house around noon, and I make sure that I was home around 6 p.m. And it's a really formative and important time not to miss out on. So so it took a little bit longer to actually record the album for that reason, but man, I just love the way it feels.
And of course, you came out of the gate with the first single, Sunshine. It's already a huge success, top 5 Urban AC, which is great. So, what is the feeling like seeing how well it's been received, seeing people are welcoming you back?
It's interesting. It's one of those songs that I did not know it was a single, let alone the first single. I guess I don't do well at picking first singles. My head of promotion, Ken Wilson, who's like a veteran and like a legend in the, radio promo world. He's done this before. He actually chose the single. The last time he did this for me was a song I did called "You're the Only One," and I had the same feeling about "You're the Only One." That was that was on an album called "Love and Life," I think, and I remember on that album we were listening to a lot of stuff, and then I just let him hear "You're the Only One." Like I was like, I got this joint too. I'm feeling it, but this definitely ain't a single. And I played it, and Ken Wilson immediately picked that as a single, and it shot to #1. And it was deja vu all over again. We were listening to the whole record. Ken came to the studio in North Hollywood, and we listened to all the joints. We were trying to figure out what the first single was. And we kind of thought we had picked a song. And then I was like, oh, you didn't hear this joint right here. Let me play you this. Probably another album cut, but I really like it. And I played it, and he just immediately said, yo, bro, that's the single. And, you know, here we are. Like, I think the song is like #3 this week and still going up. So I can't be mad at that.
And of course, you've got the special remix of the song with Tamia. You
Yeah.
guys recreated the magic you've had a few times in your careers together.
Yeah.
You know, what was it like coming together with her once again?
Tamia is just amazing, man, and she's incredible to work with. And when we were in the studio, we just did this a few months ago, and I don't know, man. Some people and some experiences, it could be decades, or it could be like so many years between, you know, when the next time happens, and when it does, it just feels like you didn't miss a beat. That's what it's like with Tamia. And we had so much fun in the studio. It felt so great doing this. All we could talk about was like figuring out how to do this Tamia Eric Benet album. So we're gonna figure that out somehow. That has to happen. I think we owe that to the world.
That's pretty cool. Can you talk about some of the other unique features you've got on this project?
Yeah, one of the dope things about this album was just like bringing like the baddest. Me and DeMonte just invited like the baddest cats we know to the studio, and we just vibed with them. And just some amazing musical, uninhibited things just happened. There's a song called "Holding On" that's got like this dope, like it's kind of poppy, but it's still R&B, and it's got some rhythm. It's its own thing. And I asked MC Light, the legend, you know, to grace us with a verse on it, and it feels incredible. I tend to like to write Latin songs from time to time, even though I don't speak Spanish, but I just love the energy and the passion in Latin music. So I wrote like an Afro-Cuban joint called with the band called "Run to Me," and I asked the legendary horn player, Mr. Arturo Sandoval, to bless me on that, and he just did this amazing solo on that song. It was really important for me to write a lullaby for my youngest daughter, Luna. My oldest, India, she's got a couple songs written by Dad. Lucia, on the last album, The One, she has her own lullaby. And so Luna needed to really have her musical love letter from her dad. And, you know, it's one of my favorite little pieces on the record. But there's so much. There's so much on this album, man. It's just like usually when I master a record, I just kind of leave it alone. Like I really don't want to hear it for a couple months. But as soon as we mastered this record, man, I'm still listening to it. I can't stop listening to it. It's dope.
How important was it to keep the live instrumentation as part of the music? Because, you know, nowadays when you turn on the radio, it's like a lot of electronic, a lot of studio-produced sounds.
Yeah.
But your album, it's all live instrumentation, and we love that. How important was it for you?
Yeah, I turn on the radio now, and I don't have anything against like a lot of the like sequenced and programmed and electronic music. A lot of it obviously is very dope, and I mean it's the future. It's what it is. It's what popular music has evolved to. But for me, when I want to be emotionally moved, um, by a vocal, I don't want to hear auto-tune on it. I want to hear the beautiful imperfections in the voice. If I want to be moved by the track of a song, I don't want it to be sequenced. I want it to be like somebody playing the guitar or playing the piano, or a horn arrangement where you can hear the breath. You know, you can almost just smell the studio while you're listening to the music, you know, and that's, I mean, for me, that's what moves me emotionally, because that's what I came from, um, you know, and I think that's always going to work best for me in the studio. Yeah.
You know, whenever we talk about Eric Benet among R&B fans and among us, you know, on the site, we would love to talk about your trajectory, because a lot of '90s R&B artists they kind of peaked early, and then now they've kind of, you know, they're indie now, having a hard time finding exposure. But you've like maintained this steady trajectory, and you're among, you know, the top artists in R&B right now, which is amazing. Love to see that. So, do you have some type of formula you've used to get here? To, you know, this is not a knock against any '90s artists. I mean,
No,
you're still making
absolutely
great
not.
R&B, and we love that. But it's just they've
Absolutely
had
not.
trouble finding exposure, and you're still your new single's almost #1 on the charts. You know, so what is it for you?
Thank you, man. I really appreciate you saying that. I think the one thing for me that has been working for me is just authenticity. I think, you know, um, I don't really chase trends and fads, because they're fleeting. But I think the one thing that never goes away is soul and emotion, and vulnerability, and finding your strength in your vulnerability. And I think when I apply all that to music, you know, it somehow just ends up adding up to being classic, you know, because it's it's the sum of a bunch of things that never go away when I go into the studio. I mean, you can listen to Ella Fitzgerald right now, and you can hear every bit of emotion she was meaning when she sang that song. And you know, you can listen to, shoot, I don't know, man. You can listen to Donny Hathaway, and it's gonna probably move you more than anything on the radio right now, because it was recorded with so much authentic, real, raw emotion and talent. And I think when you write and you record from that place, you're not like, what's hot right now? Like, what are these kids listening to? Let me try to do my version of that. No, don't do that. Like, do your version of you, you know? And so I think that's, I don't know if it's a formula or what, but I just try to always get better and better at me with every album I do.
And you've mastered being authentic to yourself, and you've had the label where you help two artists put out authentic albums to themselves, Calvin Richardson and Guapole.
Yeah.
So what is your reaction when you hear on the radio, you know, '90s artists who are kind of trying some different trendy things and having varying levels of success? You know, how do you take that?
Yeah, I can't really speak on like what other artists are doing, but I can just speak on like what works for me, man.
Right.
It's like what's working for me is like when I go into the studio, I'm trying to get goosebumps. I'm trying to just crack. Trying to laugh uncontrollably with whoever I'm making a song with, because whatever we just listened to that we came up with is so damn dope. We just gotta like laugh for a little while. Um, you know, I'm chasing that feeling in the studio, not like a trend or what's hot on the radio at the moment. And it just seems like the more I do that, the better I get at what I do. So I'm gonna just keep doing that.
And then just finally talk about the tour you've got coming up and what we can expect on there.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you've never heard Layla Hathaway live, um, you're missing like an event. She is like unbelievably talented. And Anthony Hamilton, man, that dude, he's just so dope live. He's just so entertaining and so, so soulful. And for those of you who have never seen me live, you kind of need to check me out. I treat every time I walk on the stage like it's the performance of my life. And I think that whatever you do, if you're a singer, if you're a rapper, if you are an architect, if you're a dentist, like whatever your gig is, like treat that like when you're doing it, like your whole career depends on that moment. And that's what I like to do. I like to leave all my soul, everything on the stage when I perform, like every night. And so that's going to be an amazing tour.
Anything you'd like to add?
I just want to say thank you. I mean, this is like the 20th anniversary of my solo album, True to Myself, and seems like an appropriate time just to look at everybody in the eyes, if I can see y'all out there, and say thank you for having my back and for feeling my music over the years. And I'll see you in another 20. I'm going to keep doing it. So thank you.